We're back with the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully, Darin Zoccali, and Nick Tammaro. We've got another grand jury today to talk our best bets and fades at Belmont at the Big A, Churchill Downs. We've got Monmouth Park, and we'll look at some Santa Anita as well. And Nick, since you're our special guest all week long, filled in for the roundtable as well, I'll start things off with you. What's your best bet of the week?
Yeah, very excited to be here, Ashley. Looking forward to a fun weekend of racing. Just because we're past Belmont week doesn't mean there isn't going to be plenty to take in. My best bet of the day actually is going to come in race number 11 on Saturday at Monmouth. It is the Monmouth, going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. And a horse that I really wanted to bet back coming out of the Old Forester Turf Classic run on Derby weekend, on Derby Day, I should say, was the 5 Siege of Boston. This is a horse who I actually thought had a little bit of a long shot look in the Old Forester Turf Classic, and he ended up wide just about the entire trip. And I feel like, if anything, last week's races at Saratoga showed us that there was a real advantage to being on the inside on the turf. We saw Program Trading come back and kind of underperform. We saw Coppice come back and underperform. Those were horses who both saved ground really through much of their journeys, respectively, on Derby Day. So Farbridge actually was a horse that was wide last time and came back and ran very well over the weekend. So I think Siege of Boston is a real candidate to move forward. I like the 1 1/8 miles trip. I think there's enough pace in there to set up his late run. And I'll take the 7-2 morning line just because I think he's facing a much weaker group of horses than he has in any of his recent starts. So looking forward to Siege of Boston in race 11 at Monmouth on Saturday.
I like it in our graphics department with the neon lettering. That's new.
Very lit up.
Well, Darin, I'll turn it over to you. What's your best bet of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the New York state of mind in my own backyard as we head back down to the Belmont and Aqueduct meet. Nothing glamorous in terms of the race. It's just a maiden special weight going 1 mile on the turf in race number 6. It kicks off the pick 6. I love Then. If you go back and you watch this horse's debut, he made an extremely premature and aggressive wide move on the far turn in that debut, where he just kind of catapulted past horses and did so willingly. I mean, it was a visually impressive move in that spot. And the fact that he's now coming back in his second ever start after kind of leveling off here. The 8 horse on the far outside is also in this race, and he's going to likely be one of the favorites in here. And that is Storm Ready for Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli, who did get up and get out in front of him at the wire. But I was more impressed with the move that Then made on the turn than the fact that Storm Ready was able to gobble up the pieces and get second in the stretch. I think Then has much more of a chance of moving forward in his second lifetime start. And with a better timed move here and maybe a ride that's a little bit more calculated, I think this is a talented horse for Belmont that's only going to get better. 5-1 in the morning line. I don't know. I mean, if they go back and watch the replay, I could see him taking some play. But we're going to go right now with Then.
All right. And James, what do you think? What's your best bet?
Well, I'm going to take a horse that was separated by a nose from Nick's pick in a different race from the Monmouth. I have got number 2 Web Slinger in the Chorleywood overnight stakes at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Web Slinger is listed at 4-1 on the morning line, following a third place effort in the Old Forester Bourbon Turf Classic. He's on the outside making the move here with the maroon cap to challenge for the lead here in like mid-stretch. And he definitely gets a little bit weary against, I thought, a pair of top-class rivals in Program Trading and Naval Power, but holds on for third. And the thing with Web Slinger was I just love the way he concluded last year with the next second to Program Trading in the Hollywood Derby. I thought he took a step back in his first 2 starts this year. Now, albeit he didn't have the cleanest trips, finishing 6th in the Pegasus or 4th in the Muniz Memorial Classic, but he definitely improved upon those efforts last time at Churchill Downs in that Old Forester. Comes right back over the course. I think Bold Act. We'll talk about that horse later. I know it's your fade, Ashley, and I think Segoy. I'm going to try to beat him off of that Louisville upset win. A couple of others in here. I hope they stay in the field. I know that at least Tawny Port, maybe another one's cross-entered to the Monmouth. But I think Web Slinger is now back on track for Mark Cassie. I look for him to keep advancing off of that improved third-place effort last time, and I like him on Saturday at Churchill Downs, Ashley.
He's a horse for the course, 2 wins and a third from 3 career starts at Churchill. So I always like betting him there too. So I'm going to take it over to the Better Roses, though, at Belmont at the Big A, and I'm going with number 8, Sheeta Beauty. I think I said that right. This is a 4-year-old filly who won 2 back at today's distance at Aqueduct in the Grade 3 Distaff Stakes and then finished 3rd in the Grade 2 Ruffian at this track racing a mile. This is a practical joke filly who has 3 wins from 5 career starts at Aqueduct and then also 2 third-place finishes. So finishes in the money at this track. She posted triple-digit late pace figures in her last 2, and her 99 Brisnet speed figure last out is the highest last race speed rating among the field. She's keeping rider Dylan Davis, a 21% winner in sprints, and Chad Brown is winning at a 23% clip this meet. He's also got a seed in this field with Irad Ortiz Jr., who might take some money, but I'm going with the 6-1 choice, Sheeta Beauty, and the Better Roses. All right, let's talk about the horses we're fading at a short price. Darin, who do you have?
Same race as you, so hopefully this lends well to your top selection in Sheeta Beauty. I'm fading Flying Connection here, coming out of a pair of Grade 1s. I think she's going to be overbet here. Rob Atras going to take back over here. Weird thing about Atras is he puts up very gaudy numbers. He's 30% win rate in 2024, but only 11% in Grade 6. So he's a losing proposition traditionally in spots like this. And for me, she's a filly that when she gets herself in the right spot, she certainly can do damage. When she faces a better field, I'm not saying that she can't be there because her last 2 races certainly have shown that in Grade 1 company, she can be there. But I think she could be a little bit overbet in this particular spot, considering the fact that the last 2 races, she was 26-1, she was 13-1. Adari Manor was an easy winner of the Apple Blossom. I don't think that was the greatest edition of that particular race this year. The Derby City Distaff, she ran fine. She gained through the stretch. I just think in this particular race, she's in a spot where she wants to be forward. There's other speed in here. I expect Big Pond to show speed after getting a little bit left last time out. I expect Exceed to be forward in here. I have obviously Flying Connection. Hot Fudge wants to go forward. Leave No Trace. Beguine certainly has got a lot of speed. So something's got to give here, and I think she's in a precarious position at a short price. So I'm going to fade Flying Connection in the Better Roses.
I'm right there with you. James, who's your fade this week?
Well, I don't have anybody in the Better Roses. I'm going to go with number 1, Generous Lover at 2-1 in the 9th race at Churchill Downs on Saturday. This is a $50,000 starter allowance at a mile and a 16th. And, kudos to the previous connections of Generous Lover. They really had her well spotted on Thurby, the Thursday of Derby Week program, in a $50,000 in a $40,000 claimer or $50,000 claimer. The Generous Lover this day really, once the speed sort of gave way and faded to finish like 5th or 4th or 5th off the board in this race, really just, went on with it. But to me, this was a very suspect field. The second choice in there didn't run any good at all. Every horse, 4 of these horses have come back and run. None of them have run very well. And Generous Lover, to me, off of that race, you might be thinking about keeping her at 6 furlongs, but I think they're stretching her back to a mile and a 16th because they're trying to just see what they have in the first start off the claim. After this race on Saturday, I think she'll go back to sprinting in claiming races. This is the typical step up you see sometimes first off the claim. She's never been a 2 turns on dirt. And I think she's stepping up to face much tougher opposition. So I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to fade number 1, Generous Lover, in race 9 at Churchill Downs on Saturday.
All good reasons. And Nick, who's your fade?
So I actually picked a horse, and I didn't look at the morning line, and the morning line doesn't necessarily agree with me, but I took the 7 Domestic Product to fade actually in the 10th race on Saturday afternoon at Monmouth, the Pegasus, the other Pegasus, going a mile and a 16th on the main track. And then I noticed that Domestic Product is not the morning line favorite. I'm not in the habit of making comments about morning lines, but I can assure you of one thing. Sure as the sun will rise in the east, Domestic Product will be favored in this race. Coming out of the Kentucky Derby with Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt, even though Tuscan Sky ran really, really well 2 starts back, this isn't really me trying to beat up on Domestic Product. I just don't really know if he's any good. I want to find out. I kind of hoped they'd run him in a race on Belmont weekend. There was a little conjecture about him trying the Woody Stevens. As that thing played out, he probably would have had an awfully good chance to get a piece of it, given that he would have likely come from off the pace. But I don't know exactly where he fits. He didn't really do much running in the Kentucky Derby. I don't really know what opportunity he had. I just don't want to take a short price on this horse, and I really like C Streak. So that's part of the reason why I think Domestic Product is a horse to fade. I think C Streak is a really cool New Jersey bred who's run well now on multiple occasions, including in last month's Long Branch. Looks like he might be the first big Jersey bred Haskell hopeful in a long, long time. So I'm interested to see where they shake out, but I'll be betting against Domestic Product in the multi-race bets here in race 10, the Pegasus.
Yeah, Tuscan Sky ended up being the 5-2 morning line choice, and that's a horse I like a lot just from what I saw when he was down at the fairgrounds. But I'm with you on Domestic Product, low speed figures compared to others in the field, so I totally plan to fade this horse as well at 3-1 on the morning line. So close, very close to the morning line favorite. And I'm going.
Pace will be really important for him too. To me, he's been in 2 fast-paced races. He ran terrible in both of them, the Remsen and the Derby. If he gets this slow-paced race, he can run close to a pace. Maybe he's been able to do well, but you're not going to get that every time. And he's going in a stake race on Saturday.
Well, I'm going to take it back to the Chorleywood overnight stakes, which James talked about already, and I'm going to fade the morning line choice, number 6, Bold Act at 3-1. This is a Charlie Appleby runner who's 0-2 since shipping to the U.S. He's slightly cutting back in distance here. He's been running at 1.5 miles. This is 1 3/8 of a mile, and I don't like him here after seeing his last 2 starts. He finished 3rd and 4th he was 4th in the Grade 3 Louisville last out, and then he was 3rd in the Elkhorn. Both times the post-time favorite and failed to win those races. Now, we had Segoy, who won the Grade 3 Louisville, was able to get away with setting very slow fractions in that race and might get a similar trip here. We have Tawny Port cross-centered, but likes to sit off the early pace. And then really not sure what Winning Spirit will do. Maybe could go for the early lead, but I don't see a lot of speed here again, so I don't really have any reason to think Bold Act's going to have a better trip this time around. I'd like to potentially bet Winning Spirit, I think, is a dark horse here, coming off a long layoff first start for Christophe Clement. Utah Beach has a good win at Keeneland. So a couple other runners I like in here, and definitely going to fade Bold Act until he proves me wrong and finally gets a win in the U.S.
I did like Utah Beach's win 2 back, and I'm just so surprised Engelfile, just after that Dueling Grounds Derby where he defeated Farbridge last fall, I really thought he was just going to go on and be good for Lynch, and just hasn't worked out like they planned.
Yeah. Well, Darin, before we move on to what else we're watching for this weekend, what promos do we have?
Yeah, we move out of the Triple Crown season, so kind of have some consistency in one of them, and it's a couple of new offers. We'll start with the one that everyone is familiar with, Churchill Downs. It is the selected races money back. We've got a series of races over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that will be eligible for your money back if horses run 2nd or 3rd. So be sure to go to the offers page, check out the Churchill Downs money back offer, and see which races on each day are being offered up. We've got some love for our harness fans. It's a big weekend north of the border. The North America Cup is the first of the major stakes for the 3-year-old pacers. They call that the Glamour division in harness racing. $1 million Canadian on the line, and we've got a $5,000 stakes challenge series of races. You have to make a win wager in those races of $10 or more, and the individuals or the individual with the most winning win wagers in those series of stakes races that have been listed in the promo will either win all $5,000 or share in $5,000. It's a pretty cool deal. All you have to do is make a series of $10 win bets, and you're taking a swing at $5,000. It's one of our really more fun offers because you could turn a little bit into a whole lot rather quickly. And then we do have Royal Ascot kicking off next week. And while the offer is not yet live on the board, I do want to let our players know that we will be offering a money-back offer on selected races at Royal Ascot for finishing 2nd when that historic meeting gets underway next Tuesday. So we've had that each and every year. It's very popular with our international players. And it's always fun to watch some of the American runners that show up there and take a swing for the fence as well. So be sure to pay attention when that offer goes live and opt in as well. So we flip the page to the summer. A lot of new and exciting stuff here, Ashley.
James, I think you'll be watching some real Ask It.
Oh, you know it. I will be for sure. You want me to go ahead? I'll just go with what else. Okay. Well, I'll get to Royal Ascot in a second, but I just want to first off say less than 3 weeks now remain in the Churchill Downs meet. We've got an exciting race has materialized in the jockey standings. Wanted to point out Tyler Gaffalione, who's a mainstay at Churchill Downs. He's going after his 12th riding title at Churchill. He's now tied at the top of the standings with Jose Ortiz. They both have 27 wins going into Thursday's Twilight program. And first meet for Jose Ortiz riding full-time at Churchill. He's come there last year, or I believe like 2 falls ago, Luis Saez, shifted his tack to Churchill, and he immediately won that fall meet, his first meet there. He's currently third behind Gaffalione and Jose Ortiz. So a really strong jockey colony, and it's a good battle for who's going to come out on top. I also want to mention our coverage of Royal Ascot next week on TwinSpires. The 5-day session will begin Tuesday. Our Kelly Riley is already working on features on U.S. runners in the Royal Ascot. She'll have other features as well on top contenders. And Kelly and Vance Hansen will be providing daily selections for all the stakes races at TwinSpires as well. So make sure you check out TwinSpires for their coverage of the Royal Ascot. And along with being the best place to bet, best ADW to bet Royal Ascot, TwinSpires has free international PPs available for all 5 days. And we're going to have great promotions as well that Darin covered before. So looking forward to it next week. Should be a big week of international racing.
Sounds good. Nick, what about you?
So I actually brought up a race that I was looking forward to in addition to a few other things. But Santa Anita, of course, I'll have expert picks for Santa Anita, which it's closing weekend at the Great Race Place. There's going to be 3 weeks worth of racing at Los Alamitos coming up before they take a week off in advance of Del Mar. But the 8th race is a maiden special weight event. One of the stories of the spring and now summer out west has been that a lot of these maiden special weight races have been stakes caliber. And number 7, Feel the Magic, who's the 2-1 morning line favorite here, has earned consecutive Brisnet speed figure ratings of 94 and 88, which you would be more accustomed to seeing in higher level allowance races, if not lower level stakes. So looking forward to seeing where some of these horses shake out. He had the misfortune of running into Vlahos 2 starts back, who came back and of course ran really well in the Pat Day Mile on Kentucky Derby weekend. And then last out ended up behind DeMedici in a restricted maiden race, but we'll see where he stands this time around. I do think the added ground will do him no harm based on what we've seen running style-wise and pedigree-wise as well. So always fun to see some fast maidens and get a glimpse into what we might see in the future. And I think to Feel the Magic is definitely one we could see doing big things down the line.
Picking up Hector Barrios too, so good rider
Never
switch
a bad
there.
thing.
Yeah. I like this graphic.
I do as well. It's there's been a lot of illuminating going on of these. I noticed also that I think what I should say is my one thing to watch is when I'm getting a TwinSpires backdrop, because I'm like the guy left out here. One of these things is not like the other, right?
I know.
We'll get you one.
Checks in the mail, right?
No, you'll get one, Nick.
Darin, what are you watching for?
Looking at a debut runner Saturday, Belmont at Aqueduct. A horse by the name of Menti is going to be debuting for Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher, and he is a brother to Fierceness. This horse has been working down at Palm Beach Downs, and when Fierceness shipped to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby, Menti shipped up to Saratoga to begin his quest for his debut, and that included a bullet workout in 47-2 on June the 7th. So it's an interesting maiden special weight. Obviously, Menti is going to be severely bet at the windows. He's 6-5 on the morning line and might even be 3-5, 4-5 at post time. There is one horse I wanted to mention here that kind of fascinated me, and he's going to be a long shot. The 3 Faster Gator. You don't see Anthony Farrier show up with too many horses like this in New York. This horse has a good string of workouts down at Laurel. Consistent bullet after consistent bullet, going 5 furlongs most recently in 1:01 out of the gate. Looks like a horse that has certainly got plenty of seasoning in the morning and plenty fit and ready to go. I just find it interesting that, they could have certainly found a race for this horse down at either Laurel or Pimlico in the last couple of weeks. So the fact that they're shipping this horse on up to the Belmont and Aqueduct meet, I thought was interesting. Maybe taking a crack at a bigger purse, 90,000 here. Thought it was somewhat interesting. But Menti is the name in lights. Now the name in fluorescent lights based on our graphics. But I thought that the Anthony Farrier trained Faster Gator was a horse that had a little bit of a potential wise guy appeal in race 7 at Belmont and Aqueduct on Saturday, Ashley.
Excuse me, Ashley. You also found like a 12-1 shot by the hottest freshman sire in the world right now. You realize that. Vekoma 4 for 5 with his first 5 starters. So you got a Vekoma there. That adds to the appeal a little bit.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now, 80% first-time starter. If I hadn't known, I mean, small sample size, but yeah, he's got two.
He's got two in the field. He also has Colloquial for George Weaver and Manny Franco. So he won't maintain the 80% because unless they dead heat, only one of them can win. But I do think the presence of Fierceness's brother will likely inflate the odds on some of these other contenders.
Well, to close it out, I wanted to mention another stakes race at Churchill on Saturday for Downs After Dark, by the way. It's night racing. It's the Monomoy Girls Stakes. I don't get any cool binoculars for my graphic. But we have 6 in the field, and one of them was in the Kentucky Oaks, Our Pretty Woman, who didn't have the best day at the Kentucky Oaks, but going to be the morning line favorite in this field. And we have 2 others that were on the Oaks Trail and Intricate, and we had Band of Gold as well. So I think probably Pretty Woman's going to be tough to beat in this spot, but it really could go a lot of different ways. Intricate has a huge win in the Goldenrod last year at Churchill. And then, with Band of Gold, late closer here. So I don't know if it gets the right setup, but I also thought Lucky Speech looked interesting with triple-digit E1 and E2 speed figures last out. So if Lucky Speech gets the early lead as the long shot in the field, maybe we see something gate to wire. I mean, when you have a small field, I feel like anything can really happen sometimes.
Our Pretty Woman might need to stumble. I think she was hurt by that outside post in the she's a little bit of a speed horse. At least she was in those Oaklawn races and then at Fairgrounds. Really interesting with Intricate. I mean, let's face it, she needs to turn things around. The first race was a disappointment. The last race was just awful. So, I don't know what you do with her if she doesn't run okay in this spot. So I'm hoping she can turn things around a little bit for Walsh.
Yeah, Our Pretty Woman was in my trifecta for the Oaks, but didn't really get the run I was hoping for. But her stakes debut at the Fairgrounds was really, really good. So she bounces back. Yeah, she'll be tough to beat. All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Thank you, Nick, for filling in all week while I was gone for the roundtable as well. And we'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades.